I have more than 15 years of experience creating hardstyle leads from scratch, and I see people make the same mistakes over and over and over. And honestly, it's completely understandable because there's not a lot of information on this out there. Personally, I've taken the long road of trial and error for 15 years to acquire this information. And today I'm going to share some of that knowledge with you. We're going to look at what the most common mistakes are when making hardstyle leads, what they sound like so we can identify them, and finally how to fix them. You're going to want to stick till the end because everything we're looking at is equally important for your leads. Let's jump into it. Alright, the first mistake we're running into when making hardstyle leads is filling it up with too many elements. This can be anything from too many top lead layers, too many chord layers, too many background layers. Typically, it's a combination of using an excess of layers in every category of the lead. This is extremely common, especially for new producers, because making full use of fewer sounds is a skill you have to develop. Let me show you why this requires attention. Let's make an example out of this low-end saw. If I duplicate it a bunch of times and stack these layers on top of each other, I've now replicated the issue we're talking about, which is filling up the lead with too many layers. Let's take a listen to it. So what is the difference here? Some might even say that the stacked layers sound better. Well, here's the difference. The single layer is sharp, it's full of definition, its presence is different, it sounds more in focus, and it'll be easily recognizable in the mix because it will have an easy time cutting through. The stacked layers are much denser. The sharpness and grit of the saw layers are packed much tighter together. So it's no longer as sharp and defined, but instead it's a more solid sound. Now, how does this become a problem? Well, using a lot of layers doesn't necessarily have to become a problem, but the point is, it is something that has to be managed. Here's the thing, in a hardstyle lead, we want the density, but we also need the definition of more simple layers. This low end started as a simple layer with lots of definition, but by stacking it too much, that definition got lost, and that's the point I want to make. If you have a bad habit of stacking everything using too many layers in general, what layers are going to bring that definition? So what is the solution? As I said, we want both density and definition. And so if we combine layers that bring density and layers that bring definition, that's the golden combo. And in fact, you don't even need many layers to create density. That's one way of doing it, but it's far from the only way. In this example, the density is more so coming from the sound design of the support layer and from the chord layer. Impressively, this lead is only using 4 layers and it achieves both density and definition with those layers alone. By the way, these layers are all taken from my lead pack, link in the description. So reconsider using excessive amounts of layers in your lead and instead try to focus on using fewer layers more efficiently. This will probably help you achieve more defined leads. Next, we're going to look at the mistake of high cutting and low cutting the lead in different stages. And this is not a mistake for the reasons you might think. I'm sure you've heard of many different takes on why to cut and why not to cut. But let me share another perspective on this. This has to do with the stereo field. You know this situation. You're looking at your lead with the analyzer in your EQ and you see a lot of energy going on in the bottom end and also above 20K. And you know that this energy is just taking up space, especially the bottom end, and also the stuff about 20K is not going to be included in the export anyway, so you decide to cut it out. But before you do that, here's something very important to consider. The frequency content at the extremes holds a lot of stereo information. So if you choose to cut out the extremes, you are slightly stripping away stereo width from the signal. Let me show you what that sounds like and really pay attention to the stereo width. You probably need headphones to hear this. I'm gonna play it one more time and make it a little more apparent by cutting deeper into the high end. hopefully you can hear that the stereo field is considerably narrowing when the cutting filters are applied. This has nothing to do with phase or the type of EQ, or whether it's zero latency or linear phase. It will happen regardless. This is happening because we are removing raw material that contains stereo information. This is not a phenomenon unique to hardstyle leads. This is happening to any material containing stereo information, but I see it being done a lot with hardstyle leads. So here's the thing, is this bad? No, not necessarily. But is it bad defaulting to this on every single layer of your lead? It probably is, because at that point you're removing so much organic stereo width that you'll then have to compensate for later by boosting the side signal. One thing about this is that you can never fully compensate for the loss of organic stereo width by boosting the side signal of what's remaining. That's two different things. And the other thing is that boosting the side signal as a compensatory move will raise the overall level, which will limit your headroom. Now, of course, making cuts are still necessary in a lot of situations. It can help with consistency by making all layers have the same frequency spectrum. It can help glue the layers in your hardstyle lead, and sometimes it is necessary to properly control the high end. So I'm definitely not advising to ditch cutting, but if you default to cutting on every layer, you are doing yourself a disservice because you are taking away information that probably didn't have to be taken away. The right approach to this is to make an individual assessment for every layer. Most of the time, a cut is not what's needed on the individual layers in the first place. Most of the time, it's less dramatic adjustments like controlling the high end with a shelf filter. In any case, if the frequencies at the extremes are not imposing any problems, you should probably just let them be. And remember, right now we're only talking about how cutting affects the stereo field. Things like phase and ringing are also things that speak for not cutting unnecessarily. So ditch the habit of always cutting no matter what. It's really not needed that often. Next, let's look at chords. Chords can be a tricky thing to set up successfully in hardstyle leads, and there are not a lot of rules and theory to help guide new producers to do it correctly. Typically, the mistakes I see is a combination of many small things that can easily be corrected. So let's look at what those are. A lot of producers underestimate the emotional power of chords in hardstyle leads. Many think of chords just as a component to fill out the lead, to bring density, and many producers are not even using chords. Now, I will say that any hardstyle lead, even old school leads, can incorporate chords on some level. Chords can change everything. It can completely change the emotional tone of the lead. Here's an example where changing just one little part of the chord is shifting how uplifting the melody is perceived. The shift to the higher note brings more energy to the lead. It makes it much more engaging and more uplifting. It's small changes like this that can make all the difference. And producers either don't know about this or they're not willing to explore it. So my advice on this is to always be willing to explore. Shift the notes around to see if you can find notes that better match your energy. Next, we'll look at the chord placement. You want to keep the chords in the same vertical range. In other words, you don't want any set of chords to stick out either above or below the mass of the chords. Why? Because to keep the tone and energy consistent in the lead, we want them to sit around the same height. Let's see what happens if some notes are sticking out. You see how it much better blends in and sounds more natural in the lead when it's in the same range? Of course, you can choose to do things for sound design purposes, but for the chord to do its thing, it's best to keep all the notes within the same range. In addition to that, you want to be consistent with how many notes make up each chord. For example, you don't want one chord to be made up of 4 notes and the next be made up of 5 or 6. Why? Once again, we're looking for consistency in tone and energy delivery. Let's see what happens if we don't follow this rule. So obviously the extra notes add extra energy, and that sudden change in the middle of the lead is not fitting at all. Alright, lastly, let's look at compression. So what is the purpose of compression in hardstyle leads? We use it for glue, we use it for dynamic control, and we use it to bring out the transient or attack part of the lead. Let's listen to an example of what compression can sound like in leads. So in this case, it's used for all the reasons we just listed. It glues the lead nicely, it makes it more consistent in the dynamics, and it makes it more exciting by bringing out the attack. This is what it sounds like when compression is used successfully. Now, the most common mistake I see is the use of too fast release times. And it's a tricky issue because to make full use of compression in fast-paced hardstyle leads, you need a fast release time, but not too fast. The thing about too fast release times is that the problem it creates is almost invisible with small compression amounts. But even though it's small, it's still there and it's still hurting your lead. So what is the issue? It's micro jitters from the compressor recovering too quickly. Take a listen to this. So again, if you're only compressing small amounts, this is hardly audible, but you for sure don't want any amount of this jitter let into your signal. So you have two ways of dealing with this. You can either use a slower release setting, as soon as you get past 30 milliseconds, the jitters are usually gone. Or if your compressor has it, you can use RMS detection instead. That will make the compressor not react to all the small nuances in the lead that cause the jitters in the first place. Alright guys, that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.